Hey everyone! First of all, look at how pretty the backdrop is to my garden. So these trees back there are some of my favorites in the fall. They just started turning. This one takes the longest, and then over here, that one's already starting to lose its leaves. So I don't know how long we have with the pretty leaves as the backdrop to my garden, but what we're going to do today is pull some plants that I wasn't supposed to have to pull. So I'm basically going to be fixing a mistake that I made in my garden, which I mentioned in my worst decisions of 2023 video, where I thought I was making a native perennial bed, so that everything could come back year after year. It would be very low maintenance. And so the Midwest wildflower mix I bought had either no natives or very few natives, and I don't think any of the natives actually came up in this bed. So let me take you over to the bed and I'll show you what we are going to do. Here is the bed in question, the non-native bed. So I sowed some seeds last fall and in the spring because that's what was recommended. Some seeds require cool temperatures for germination, and then they started growing and I was like, great. Then they started growing more and flowering, and I was like, I don't think these are native here. So then I actually read the seed packet, like the back of it with all the list of the seeds on it. And even though it was labeled as for the Midwest, it didn't mean that they were natives. So I'm going to empty out this bed almost completely. The only one is this on the left, which I'm pretty sure is a type of cosmos. Hasn't flowered yet, and there's buds. It's also an unseasonably warm day right now, and I think we have some days in the 60s coming up. So I don't know if it is going to bloom. Oh, got some wind. All right, wind has died down a little for now. But I think I'm going to leave the one on the left because it's so huge, and I want to see if I can get some flowers off of it. But everything else I'm going to pull. I think I'm also going to, well, it depends on how much soil is pulled up with the root balls, because I imagine that some of these are pretty well rooted into this bed. So depending on how much soil gets pulled out, I'm expecting that there are going to be some seeds that have dropped from these over the season. So I might take the first inch layer of soil out of the pot, because honestly I don't want any of these to reseed next year. My plan is to plant some of my actual native seeds that I got from Prairie Moon Nursery in this bed. I think all of them need to be sown in late fall, early winter, so that's why I want to empty out the bed. And I know that cosmos can be kind of aggressive, which I didn't know before, and I don't want them taking over the bed again next year like they did this year, because they aren't unfortunately native, even though I still might grow cosmos just in other areas up here. So that's why I want to try to get as many seeds out as possible. And also, I don't know if I've grown any of the natives before, so I don't really know what they look like to differentiate between them and the other plants that might be growing that we're growing this year. So yeah, we'll have to see how much soil is left in this bed once I remove all of the plants, and then see if I'm going to put any soil in there now or just wait until I sow the seeds in a few weeks. But it does make me sad because they are still big and green, and the pollinators still like them, but that's why I'm going to leave that one on the left. And speaking of plants that look like they could bloom soon, this is the one dahlia that has not produced any flowers, and we are so close. So close. Just open. You got a few more days. It'll make me so happy. Now, because I think it is going to be difficult to get some of these root balls out with just my hands, I do have my Hori Hori knife here, and I got this on Amazon, which has the serrated edges so that I can maybe cut through the root balls in there. I'm hoping I can get most of these out with my hands, but from pulling on them a little bit, I think some of those are going to have to come into play. So now I think we just get to pulling. I have my garbage can here because that is where I'm going to put everything that I empty out from the garden, except the root balls. I'll probably leave those to dry. But I think my plan of action will be to start with what's smaller, because that's most likely to be easier to remove. And again, when I put things in the bag, I chop them up so that they don't tear holes in the bag, hopefully, when I carry them downstairs. I'm going to try to get out as much as I can. I think I also might need my garden fork in order to rake through and loosen up some of these root balls. These smaller plants are coming out pretty easily, as I imagined that they would. And so this drip I have nailed into the side of the bed, so I can't really move it too much, but at least get it out of the soil. Now, I don't cut up anything that I guess is less woody that's pretty soft because that's not going to tear a hole in the bag, at least from my experience so far. But again, anything like this, I just want to break that up. Are you parsley? It's not parsley, it's carrots. Did I plant carrots in here? Maybe? I guess I'm gonna keep you guys. I mean, carrots are biennial, so maybe, I think I did plant these here last year. Nice little surprise, we'll see how they taste. Okay, that root ball's in there good. These are easy to grab out. You know, and I'm actually not as sad as I thought I would be that I made this mistake, because from the class that I'm in now, for my horticulture certification, oh, this one came out easier than I thought. I'm learning a lot more about natives. I actually had no idea the class was going to focus on natives because it was called like design and aesthetics, but it just kind of lucked out that literally every module is natives for a different season, so I know a lot more now. So when I was shopping for natives, I had a better idea of what I wanted and what might work. So I guess kind of a blessing in disguise, despite the extra work that I have right now of just cleaning this out. Now these smaller root balls I am just going to toss in here because they're not too heavy right now, but anything I get out that is super heavy, like I said, I will let that dry and then bag it up separately. I still actually need to bag up all of my herb root balls because it rained right after I did that video, and so they're still wet and heavy. I'm going to cut this cosmos now, and I think I'm going to do something with it that I did with some of them out back. So I will show you that after I finish the bed. I'm actually feeling a breath of fresh air getting these out so that I can start fresh. And then hopefully, like I said, the plan is once I have the natives, the correct natives planted in here, I don't have to do anything and just watch it transform year over year. Oh yeah, that one's in there tight. I'm hoping, I guess I hope I don't have to use my knives, but I kind of want to. I actually am going to use this knife really quickly to try to get the root ball of this cosmos out. Now I got this from Amazon. I think it was like, I don't know, 20 bucks. And it is kind of flimsy now that I'm using it in the dirt, but it's at least cutting, which is the main purpose. I saw someone got a garden knife, but it was like $100. So I always like to try the cheap version of something first, similar to my flexible hose, to know if I like it before I spend $100 on something that I'm not going to use. Yeah, this is actually working pretty nicely. There we go. That's the biggest root ball in the bed. This one's probably bigger, but you're gonna stay. Put you in here for now. And let's cut off the stems. Root ball will sit here for now to dry in the sun. Now, I will go right through this. Like I've said before, I do probably 99%, well, not 99%, let's go 90% of the garden work with my hands. So I don't need that many tools, but I have found that this, which I always forget the actual name of, I call it a fork, garden fork, but because this helps me rake through the soil, especially in the spring when I'm mixing things together too, I like to use these. A little trowel I found helpful, and then really just the garden. Oh, hi bird. I don't think it knows I'm here. I haven't had a bird get that close to me. Hello. I know you can't see it, but I can see it. Hi bird. I actually don't mind birds in my garden. Oh, bye-bye. Oh, I hope that flew in front of the camera. I don't mind birds in my garden, mostly because they haven't taken anything that I want. So that's been nice so far. But I know some people do have issues with birds. Where was I going with this? So my knives, my fork. Oh, I'm gonna take forever to get through this because of the bird. Hi. Okay, left again. See if it comes back. So yeah, just a few tools is what I use in the garden. I really don't need much, which is a benefit of container gardening. Now I'm not going as deep as I do in the spring right now. Right now I'm just trying to remove any of the root balls. And then well, I guess it won't be spring this time, it'll be fall, but when I'm ready to plant the seeds in the fall, I'll kind of mix everything together because I do want to add some perlite, I want to add some compost. So I will do that and dig even deeper down into the bed, but at least right now I just want to break up these large roots. And for most of these, unless they are a giant clump, I'm just going to let them continue to break down over winter. Something that's been on my mind that probably won't happen, but we'll see. Never say never. Is I have been thinking about doing different beds up here, but that would mean I'd have to take all my raised beds down, which I don't think is going to be an easy task to empty them out, take them apart, and bring them down. But I feel like now that I know my space a little bit better, I would do something that would create more of like a full border around the outside instead of having like a few beds and then a bunch of pots. And I would definitely stain the beds like a pretty color. I don't know what color, but a pretty color, maybe like a dark brown. I would definitely put wheels on the bottoms of the beds. And then I know some people have beds where like you can add lights and just make everything look, I don't know, prettier. Not that my garden right now isn't pretty, but that's something that's been on my mind at some point. But I mean, probably not next year or the year after that. Like I almost think it'd be more likely we move somewhere outside of the city that has a yard before I would swap these around. And I don't know if that's ever actually going to happen. All right, I think we're at a pretty good place. Let me bring you over and show you what it looks like. So this looks a bit different than it just did a few minutes ago. That is pretty much empty now. I do think I'm still going to come through and scrape some of the soil off of the top, but I realized like as I'm forking to get the root balls out, probably mixing any seeds that were laying on the top a bit deeper anyway. So we'll kind of see what happens next year. But here is what I believe is a cosmos that's just so big. I can't bring myself to remove it yet. I'll probably leave it up through winter and then pull it later, but I don't know if you can see all of the buds that are on it, like on every single branch. It hasn't produced one flower yet, and there's so many buds. So I want to try to give it a little bit more time. Oh, plus I see a ladybug. I think I see a wasp up there too. There's definitely still pollinators. Oh, there's a ladybug. That's a different one though. Can you see that in there? Am I even pointing at it? I think I'm pointing at it. We'll see. We'll see when I edit this because it's a little too bright for me to tell right now. With the giant yellow cosmos, I put it in this green bottle, which is pretty heavy, so that helps keep it upright. I need to cut off all of the spent blooms, and I'm going to put this inside because I did that with the cosmos on the back, some of the cupcake cosmos, and it bloomed for like, I don't know, 3 weeks. It just kept continuing to grow and bloom. So I'm going to try that out. I'll move that inside and I'll show you where I put it. In this corner is where I've moved the cosmos. So I have it here in, it's like a wine bottle, but it's not, I think just water came in it. I'm not sure, but it's really heavy so it stays upright. And then I'm just going to put it in front of this window. So like I said, I did this with one of the branches of the Cupcake Blush Cosmos. All I did was make sure that the water stayed full enough that the stem was still in the water, and I came through and I would just clip off any of the spent blooms. Now I tried that I think with 3 different branches. 1 worked great, 2 did not work, but this was the placement of the one that did work. So I'm hoping that I can have some cosmos in here for at least, a couple weeks. So that is going to be everything for this video. My bed is emptied out. It'll probably be, I'd say, about 3 weeks before I get the seeds planted. I actually need to order goldenrod seeds because I'm going to add that to this container for sure. I have some 3-foot tall varieties that I think will work nicely because there are some that are 6 feet and 5 feet and 4 feet, and I think those are just going to be too big for my raised bed. So I will obviously show you when I go ahead and sow those. I will amend the bed at the time when I do sow those. And I'm trying to think what else. I will also link down below, because I do have a video where I went through all of my seeds and the seed haul that I got for my native plants. And I think that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I correctly plant this bed for next season, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.